Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CITL Hot Take. I'm Samantha Goldman, a GRA for CITL, and today I'm joined by Beth and Jérémie, the co-founders of Ludia. Tell us a little bit about Ludia and then show us Ludia.
Thank you so much for having us, Samantha. We created Ludia, which is a remix of the acronym UDL and AI, as a thought partner for teachers anywhere in the world and instructional leaders and also school administrators to support them in creating classrooms and learning communities that are, I should say, much more inclusive, because Ludia can give responses that are very specific to their context and expansive, tapping into the UDL framework. And also, people can also revisit Ludia and continue their exchanges so that they can deepen their knowledge and understanding and find new ways to reduce barriers over time.
That's such a great and needed tool. So I used Ludia with my pre-service teachers last semester, and Beth and Jérémie are going to give you a demo of what it looks like using the information that my students came up with before they went to Ludia. So they had to come up with a standard, they had to come up with some learning goals and objectives, and then they had a case study student from a case study student repository, I guess you would call it. So they had to learn about their student and then come up with a fake classroom, because we know that when we're designing learning, we want to ensure the success for all of our learners, not just those with identified disabilities. So I gave Beth that information, and she's going to show us how Ludia can support creating a lesson around that standard.
Thank you, Samantha. And before we start, I just want to let everyone know that you do not have to be a master at prompt engineering to connect with Ludia. We've done that work for you. So we always recommend that people start an exchange with Ludia and think of Ludia as that, wise UDL expert down the hall, who you might ask to give you some sage advice about how to problem solve or how to design by leveraging the UDL framework. And so that's really the mindset that you should start with. It's very low stakes, and don't worry about perfect wording. So in this case, Samantha, we're going to go ahead and copy and paste the information about a lesson for grade 11 students focused on Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. And so you might finish up by sharing some context, and maybe a barrier that you're dealing with or that you're just not sure of, or not maybe wondering, how can I develop more clear goals for my learners? But then you want to think about, okay, what am I missing, and how can Ludia help me to reduce barriers for all learners? So here we have some context, and you might want to add, for example, how can I universally design authentic learning tasks for all of my 11th grade students so that they can understand, or I should say, learn about the themes and concepts through connecting with their environment. That's really long and complicated, just because that's kind of matching all of the detail here in its tone and depth. But again, you can always just start with a very simple question and go from there.
The
But
student
let's
that
see.
did that was a hopeful general education high school English teacher, and based
Okay.
on the way they wrote, you can tell.
It's great. There's lots of detail, and you can see that this is a really ambitious student. So, but I do want to point out that Ludia will help you to self-scaffold. So the amount of detail that you share will be echoed in the exchange and the responses from Ludia. So let's see what happens. So
Wow.
often you're going to see that Ludia will help you to identify the barriers that you need to prioritize in your design. And after you have the information presented at the top, you're going to receive some suggestions, some options to help you to achieve your goal. And then at the bottom, you can see that there are flexible pathways to continue the exchange. So, and I'm going to read one of them aloud to you. Can you provide some examples of how students can demonstrate their understanding through art and music? And so those responses are going to be specific to the context and the concepts that you're trying to communicate or to teach in your classroom. And here you can see there's referencing, of course, to the specific UDL checkpoints. And then some general examples will be given. But let's say you actually want some discussion questions. So, that pertain to the goal or the standard that you're trying to meet. Go ahead and ask, can you please help me develop, five questions that will be inclusive for all learners to ask and answer based on this standard or this material that we're covering. So you can really go in whatever direction you would typically go in a conversation with a wise teacher that knows a lot about UDL down the hall.
I
So
love
don't
that.
ever, yeah.
Ludia has so much potential both for in-service teachers that are looking for some support and also for use in our pre-service classrooms. I'm so excited that we get to learn more from both of you and get to play with Ludia. And I'm really excited to hear what our community does with Ludia. If you want to visit Ludia, the website link is in the blurb next to this video, and hop into our community and tell us how you're using Ludia. Thanks for joining us on this hot take.